Hello there. So according to Brain Primer number 18, the 214-2017 assignment is a student debate, and that is you're going to get a printed version of the worksheet. But this assignment is accessed also on STEMScopes, and that's www.accelerate.learning.com. There you go. So rather than go to the website though, what we'll do is look at the worksheet that I've printed, but we'll look at the digital version of it and try to figure out, okay, what is it in this debate task that you need to do? All right, so again, the 214 assignment is student debate. I've printed the worksheet, but we will look at the digital version just to kind of explain how you'll do it. So let's check it out. Here's the worksheet. So Mr. J or Ms. Reales will provide this. It says here, driving question. All good science activities start with a problem. In other words, it's a question or something we don't understand or something we want to know more about. The scientific problem or question here is, should sporting events be timed with analog or digital stopwatches? That is to say, compare them and decide how they're different, what are their advantages, and what are their deficits or issues. What's good about them, what's bad about them. And you have to pick a side. You have to decide if digital or analog is better, and you have to provide reasons why. In explaining why you've chosen analog or digital stopwatches to be used in sporting events, after you've decided which one you think is best, as you're explaining your argument or why you think one's better than the other, it is important to remember the differences. So as we go through the research part of this assignment, make sure you practice and recall and study and remember different ideas of digital information and analog information. Each website resource available to you, if you choose the ones I've provided, do help explain the differences, so it gives you a little background. All right, moving forward, the worksheet makes it seem as though you'll be having a debate with other students, but you'll really just have a debate with me. You can sit down with me and we'll discuss it and you get a chance to share your ideas. All right, your debate role, well actually, I should say here on the worksheet I've written it in. It has the driving question or scientific problem, but right below it I've written it on your worksheet, the printed version. I put hypothesis here, and this is where I want you to choose a side. Just right at the beginning, it doesn't matter, but you're going to choose to argue for analog or digital timekeeping, and you'll write your hypothesis here. I think we should use analog, or you would put, I think we should use digital. So right at the beginning, you'll just choose one, okay? Your debate role will be based on which position you're arguing. So are you arguing for analog or digital? At this point, then you would continue with this part, the brainstorm and research. What I'm going to do is show you the 4 websites that I'm going to provide a link to for you to look at. Now, one's not better than the other, and you might not like any of them. But the goal is I want to provide you with a few websites you can look at to try to help you think through this and provide information on why analog or digital is good. If you want to use a different website, that's great. If you find one that you like more, use it. And of course, if you have trouble accessing one of those links that I provided on Google Classroom with the assignment, make sure you let me know. So again, on Google Classroom, where we post the assignment for this student debate, I'll make sure to add the links there, so you'll be able to get them. So where I put the assignment, you'll be able to see the links. All right, let's check out the different websites. I want to show you real quick. Here's one. It says analog and digital. This whole web page will talk about differences between analog and digital, so it helps someone understand what analog or digital is, and it provides different explanations in how they're used in society, different technologies. Here it says, which is better, analog or digital? And they do discuss timekeeping here. And then it goes through and kind of shows you the different way information is transmitted by analog or digital. You get more of the same here. It's comparing and contrasting, showing how they're similar or different, advantages, pros and cons of analog versus digital technology. It has a brief introduction that I think is rather good that you can look at, and also has a value of being this really focused comparison chart. So it'll tell you how information is represented in waveforms. It'll show you different technologies, and it addresses good and bad things for digital and analog. And you can keep going, and it continues. It provides a video there, but it gives you a lot of information about how analog and digital technologies send information, track information, keep track of time, things like this. It'll tell you errors, which are things you may want to know. You may want to know what are certain errors that can be found with one versus the other, because it may help you decide which is better. It says a comparison. Here we go. All right, it also says differences in applications. So it mentions cellular phone industry here. So it could be helpful there. And this one is the Dummies website, which they're just often good at explaining things clearly. This is the difference between analog and digital electronics. You could go to this website if you want. You can look at this. And it goes through talking about common forms of digital and analog technology, like this old-fashioned clock and the digital clock on your phone. It also goes into showing how digital could be good or bad based on how it collects information or how they run, how the system of a digital machine uses information or processes it. And it goes through, let's see, that's pretty much it. But it does give a good example. And here's one more website that does similarly as some of the others. It compares analog and digital. They give a nice introduction. They talk about how digital processes differently than analog. And they give you some definition, some background information. So it tells you how an analog system continuously collects information. And they give you some examples. And they show you how digital systems collect information, which is in segments, non-continuous, in other words. They give you some examples. It does get quite technical. I don't expect you to look at this circuit necessarily, so don't worry. So I'd say this upper part from this chart on, I'd say are potentially helpful there. Okay, so I'd focus more on these areas here if you're going to use this website, and ignore the last stuff below. Okay. All right, so your assignment again, let's look at it. Where you'll actually write in information is from your research using the websites is right here. So anything you think is important from the research from the websites, any of these sites, would be recorded here. And the purpose again is to say, is your position better and why? So if you think analog's better, and you said I'm arguing for analog here, and you put it in your hypothesis here, then you need to make sure your information down below says good things about analog. So if you're arguing that analog should be used in sporting events, you need to write the good things about analog below. The opening statement portion of this is if you were speaking it. How would you write it if you were going to speak to somebody? How would you introduce your topic or say why you think it's you're right in a very general way? You don't have to get into details yet, but that opening statement is you saying, generally, what do you think? What's your hypothesis? Should analog be used or digital? And keep it general. Let's look on the backside here. All right, it says, well, you can see the driving question again. The debate role, you can still put your original role, whether you're arguing for analog or digital. But these are notes from the opposing side. So in this portion right here, you would list things that are good about the other form of timekeeping. So if you're arguing for analog, what are things people, if they were arguing against you and saying digital is better, what might a digital person put here? And on the flip side, if you were arguing if you originally said digital was better, you need to recognize that there are some good things about analog and list them here. Because anytime you have an argument, you need to expect what the other side would say. And that gives you a chance to hear someone else's views and other facts that might challenge your own. So here is where you write facts that support the other timekeeping that you're not in support of. The good things about it, though, you would list it here. So if someone said something good about digital and you were arguing against digital, you gotta list it here. But something from the website that said digital was good, or what's something on the website that said analog was good. Whatever the opposite of your timekeeping is the pros of that, or the good things about it, you list it here. The very last part of this, it's simple, is in this last portion, you need to write a statement that says what's good about your form of timekeeping that you prefer, while also recognizing that there are good things about the other form of timekeeping. So you need to compare and contrast. Show how both have good things, but ultimately you think that one is better than the other. And you would list this in your writing, and we'll help you do that. And at the very end, your vote. After you see the opposing views or what's good about the other form of timekeeping, what do you ultimately decide? And you write that here for your vote. Do you still think your original choice was correct, or did the other side or the other form of timekeeping, do you think it might actually be better? Did you change your mind? So you could vote here and list it. All right, good luck.